Uh, Very good morning to all. Today we are going to study inheritance in C++. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Sneha Sule. I'm working as an assistant professor in CSIT department at SIRT Sagar Group. So let's start our inheritance concept. So yes, C++ inheritance means what? It is one of the most important concepts in object-oriented programming. So what is inheritance? Inheritance is the concept which allows us to define a class in terms of another class, which makes it easier to create and maintain an application. This also provides an opportunity to reuse the code functionality and fast implementation time. So in overall, let me introduce what is an inheritance. An inheritance is generally when we are inheriting some of the features from another class, then that class is called as inherited class, and the class from where we are inheriting the property, that class is called as the base class. So coming to next para, when creating a class, instead of writing completely new data members and member functions, the programmer can designate that the new class should inherit the members of an existing class. This existing class is called as the base class, and the new class is referred to as the derived class. Okay, so inheritance generally there are two classes. One is the base class and the other is the derived class. The base class is the one from where we are extracting or from where we are inheriting all the features of it. So what are the different features? It may include data members and member functions. When that functions, they are inherited in the derived class. So derived class is the one where we are getting all the features or where we are inheriting all the features of the base class, that are the data members and member functions of the base class. So next, inheritance is the process by which new classes called derived classes are created from existing classes called base class. Base class is the one from which we are inheriting the properties. Derived class is the one which is being created from the base class. The derived classes have all the features of the base class, and the programmer can choose to add new features specific to the newly created derived class. So derived class, it will have one added feature that it can inherit all the properties of the base class, and if it wants to create some new features, or if it want to create some add new features in its class, so derived class can have that added special feature also, that it can extend different features in that derived class. So this is the general format of inheritance. How we, if we want to inherit any class, so this is generally a syntax. So class, derived class name, access specifier, base class name. So we'll derived class name is the one where we will get all the properties or where we will inherit the properties. Access specifier means generally there are three access specifiers: private, public, and protected. What are these access specifiers? This we are going to study in next class, in next slide. In base class name, it generally includes the name of the base class from where we are inheriting the features. So let us take an example. For example, if we are if we are taking base class as my class and the derived class as sample, so how we will write inheritance? Class sample colon public my class. Sample is the derived class, my class is the base class, and access specifier here we are using as public. If we are access specifying as public, then we can inherit all the features of my class. So what are different access specifiers that we are going to study? Generally, there are three types of access specifiers: public, private, and protected. So what are the differences between three that we are going to study? So first is private one. If a member or variable defined in a class is private, then they are accessible by members of the same class only, and they cannot be accessed from outside the class. this private access specifier, by the name itself, you can identify that if any class is having access specifier as private, then that cannot be accessed by other members or other classes. The members or variables of that class can only be accessed by specific that class only. It cannot be accessed by any other class. Then next is public. If access specifier is public, then members and variables accessible from outside the class. Public means it can the members and variables defined in that class can be accessed by other classes also, as we have seen in previous example. And third is protected. Protected access specifier is a stage between private and public. If a member functions or variables defined in a class are protected, then they cannot be accessed from outside the class but can be accessed from the derived class. So now pay attention in protected. In protected, it is a stage which is in between private and public. How come it is private? If a member function it is defined as protected, then they cannot be accessed from any other outside the class. But if suppose if we have created one class which is a base class, and we have created another class which is a derived class, and that derived class is using the features of base class, then if it is access specifier is protected, then derived class can have the authority, or it has the permission to access all the features of base class. Okay, so these are the various access specifiers. Now we are going to types of inheritance. Generally, there are n types of n number of inheritance. First is single class inheritance. In single class inheritance, it is the one where you have a single base class and a single derived class. Means there is one base class, and that base class is inherited to another class. That class is the derived class. Here we can see from the example that employee is a base class and manager is a derived class. This arrow tends to employee because employee is a base class and manager is a derived class. Next, multi-level inheritance. In multi-level inheritance, a class inherits its property from another derived class. So what is in multi-level? Generally, there are more than two levels from where we are inheriting the properties. See here in example, there are three classes, class A, B, C. Here, A is a base class for B. So B is a derived class for A. But again, below B, there is another class which is C. So for C, B is a base class and C is a derived class. But now what is the situation of B? B is acts as a base class for C also, and B is a derived class for A also. So B's position is it is a subclass or derived of A and base class of C. This is multi-level inheritance. Means one class is inheriting the property of another class, and that class is again inheriting the property of another class. Means there are three levels here. That is why it is multi-level inheritance. Now, multiple inheritance. In multiple inheritance, a derived class inherits from multiple base classes. It has properties of both the classes. In multiple inheritance, the derived class can inherit the property of more than one base class. Let's see here one example. Suppose class A, class B, they are the two base classes, and class C is the derived class which is inheriting the property of both class A and class B. Since it is inheriting the properties of both the classes, of both the base classes, that is why this inheritance is called as multiple inheritance. Next is hierarchical inheritance. Hierarchical inheritance is like an inverted tree. Here multiple classes inherit from a single base class. It's quite analogous to the file system in a Unix-based system. In hierarchical inheritance, it works in tree pattern, in inverted tree pattern. Like there is one class which is a base class, and that base class is inheriting its property to n number of classes. Here class A is the base class, class B, D, C. These three classes, they are the derived classes, and they are inheriting the property of one single class, that is base class. That is why this acts as an inverted tree. Now, hybrid inheritance. Hybrid inheritance means combination of any of the above inheritance. Like above four inheritance means it can have combination of single inheritance with multiple level inheritance, multiple level inheritance with multiple inheritance. So here you can see that class A, class B, class C, class D. These are four classes. Class A is acts as a base class for class B and C. Similarly, class B acts as base class for class D. Class C acts as a base class for as a derived class base class for D also. So this is it. Ki four classes, they are interlinked with each other and they can have any combination of other inheritance. That's it from today. Thank you.